Well, hello, this is Dr. Lemmon, and this is a Q&A. So people send me questions, which I love. I answer them where I can. I get certain questions are really fitting to have a little talk. Some questions just get repeated a lot. I have lots of people that send me questions that want to know if I believe in space aliens or if I believe in afterlife, if I believe in God's angels, demons, whatever, everything you can imagine, right? It's just like all of that. I know I have a couple of chats out there, one called Parallax. I believe in two systems. I think it's a little too complicated for a lot of the people that are emailing back. They just don't quite understand. When you say, do you believe in what I believe in? You're trying to engage into an organ. You're trying to say, I like you if you think like I do. And I'm saying that we have to reverse that. I have to learn from what you think. So I need to listen to what you think and not judge what you think. And I don't have to think the same as you. If we all think different, we have now created an opportunity for humanity. If we all think in our own context, we've at possibility created a potential for ourselves, but not sure it's going to integrate to others. Now, let me give you some simple samples, right? So once again, a little review. We live in a logical world. It's all structured. Everything is structured. Everything is designed pieces. We don't see them, but they're all designed pieces. There's so many millimeters, so many centimeters, so many angstroms, so many blah, 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 whatever. It's all measured. It's all figured out, right? Listen to Eddie talk you went to on physics. It's really come down to where now today there's no mass, right? So it's even more interesting. It's all an energy game. Okay, that's cool. I'm fine with all that. So now let me give you a little story. Stories are always in the logical world. Our brain and our language are part of the logical world. So let me give you an example. Here's a 12-year-old boy that lives in California. And he has been to Disneyland a couple of times and he loves it. And he's thinking in imagining, wow, it won't be very long. I'm 12. In a few years, I'll be able to take a car and drive to Disneyland on my own, or maybe some of my friends with me, and we can go to Disneyland, and that would be cool. And he has this vision of being able to do that. That's what I call a potential. Is it logical? Well, it has potential even in the logical world, but it's not necessarily logical right then. He's 12 years old. You don't have a license. You don't have a car. Maybe you don't have any friends. I don't know. So you start to see it's kind of like, so if a kid says that, the adults might be nice and say, yeah, in about 4 years, you'll probably be ready for that. Maybe, maybe 5 or 6. It sounds like fun. They might go along with it. They might get excited about it. They might not. Now, let's frame it different. When I say frame it, is that this is what we do. We take a potential. The young man wants to go to, or the young girl wants to go to. Yeah, I get a little bias with males because when I look in the mirror, what I see is a man. Yeah. And so I'm sorry about that. But it could easily be a young girl, no problem. My daughter was always great with big stories, and she had great visions and still does to this day. So, and I've always supported those, and I think everybody should. So a young man says to his parents, hey, I'm 12 years old. I can see me going to Disneyland in a car with my friends. This is really cool. And they say, yeah, that's really cool. It's just a few years till you can do that. What you should do is go online, figure out how you would map from our house to Disneyland. Why don't you start looking at cars and see what kind of car you might be driving? In other words, they could feed that imagination. Why would that be good? Because the more that imagination gets fed, the more it imagines more components, more pieces in it. And could you imagine instead he's imagining that he's driving a Mercedes to Disneyland and he's got free friends and they get free tickets and they get in for free and there are special guests and that's a little stranger. And maybe some of the parents would say, I don't know. Maybe you just better be happy with going. Do you see how they take a creative potential and narrow it down to what is logical. That's our two systems. Now, what if the young man said, I was dreaming last night? Grandpa's dead, I know that. But when Grandpa was alive and I was 5, he took me to Disneyland. And he said, the next time we go, he was a little sick. And the next time we go, you'll drive and I'll go with you. Well, he died last year and I'm 12. So he died when I was 11. And I'm imagining that Grandpa is telling me that as soon as I can drive, I'm going to go to Disneyland for him. I'm going to imagine he's with me. I'm going to take him because he took me. All right, that's a good story. Some family may go along with that. Do you see how those things say what the people are saying is, do I believe in your potential? And if they don't see that potential in the logical world they live in, they knock it down. Now, what if the kid said, I was doing homework, and I closed my eyes for a few minutes because I really felt stressed. An angel appeared before me and said, this is going to be a rough battle getting through these few years of school for you. But in a few years, in around 4 years, all of a sudden this will open up for you. And you'll go to Disneyland, and it's just like that'll be the trigger, and everything will get simple for you in life. Well, do you think family's going to buy that? Right? Do you see how he's not going to get supported for his potential? Because they're going to judge that literally, like we do potential structure. Pardon me, like we do structure. We judge it literally, right? A 2x4 is not really 2x4 anymore. Even quarter-inch plywood's not quarter-inch, half-inch plywood's not half-inch. It's, I don't know, something 30 seconds. So everything changes. When somebody talks about a potential, I really believe you have to say, oh, wow, I don't know anything about that. Tell me more, right? Tell me more. Space Alien is going to land and save you? Cool. Hey, it sounds good. Do I want to go with Space Alien somewhere? I'm too old for dating. But I think it's a good idea. Talk to me a little more. Tell me more about your space aliens and how it's going to save the world. Who am I to judge if that's right or wrong? I have no idea, right? I don't even know if I care, right? So when you start to look at those things, I'm just advocating that we encourage potential. We might have them examine it a little closer, right? So what if he's dreaming and all of a sudden his grandmother, who he always really liked, and now she's passed, and she says to him, wow, I'm really looking forward to when you can drive and you can take me to Disneyland. And so then he's telling his parents about how his grandmother talked to him in a dream about that. But all of a sudden his mother was a little hostile to grandmother. So then she goes back, well, I don't know why you want to go with her, and she's dead anyhow. Do you see how they would poo-poo his dream? They discourage his potential. We don't do it intentionally, but we do it all the time. If it doesn't fit into my story, if your story don't fit into my story, it's wrong. No, it's not wrong. It's different. So you have to let potential not be logical. My goodness. It doesn't matter how he got his ideas. It doesn't matter. I can remember having a dream where I saw an Indian coming to me and he was telling me something. And I go, wow, I couldn't quite get what he was telling me. It was really intriguing. And then years later, I'm talking to an Indian and he's looking at me and we're talking. And he said, did you ever have a dream about wandering in the woods and all of a sudden have 5 coyotes around you? Wolves around me. Coyotes, wolves, something like that. And all of a sudden they're just kind of looking at you, and then they just all lay down. And then you just lay down and you take a nap. Did you ever have that dream? I go, yeah, when I was about 6 years old. I don't know where it came from because I didn't know a coyote from a wolf. Come on, this is before TV. I'm old. We didn't have TV then, right? And movies was rare, and probably not until I was maybe 10 years old. So no, it's just like, wow, I saw that vivid in a dream. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And so this Indian said to me, he said, you're a teacher. You're there to collect people and teach them. I go, oh, that's interesting. Hey, thanks. Yeah, cool. Whatever. But it was intriguing. I never told an adult, of course, when I was a kid that I had this dream. That they're just like, you're crazy. But here I am sharing this with an American Indian, and the American Indian and could see that picture, could see it in that space of potential, could see it had some communication. Yes, I met the Indian at Knott's Berry Farm eons ago, right? Yeah, I don't know. He was dressed up like an Indian. I assumed he worked there, to make it, I have no idea, but they had these characters walking around. But anyway, I just started a conversation with him. He was very nice. And that's what he said to me. And it's like, wow, that's interesting. Do you see? It's kind of like supported idea. I started entertaining the idea then at a very young age. I was maybe, I don't know, 13, 14. And Knott's Berry Farm, probably with my family, although I was running around the neighborhood or somewhere else, but I talked to the Indian. So, it's not like, hey, this is my dream in life, or I've just got piece of wisdom, or I got a big story I'm telling everybody. But then when people later on said I should do some teaching, all of a sudden, all these little pieces of continuity come together with a potential that not what my education in, not what my background was in. So it just was always there. But when you start to see this, I'm saying the world of potential isn't structured, isn't logical. All you guys have dreams and try to make it happen. And it's just like, I need some more information, right? Yes, you need more information. And I've got lots of talks on that, right? I just want everybody to know that it's not a question of what I believe in. It's not a question, I want you to join Chris's club. You can talk me into anything. What the heck? It's, I have had lots of experience. Some of them, I could find a logical doorway that explained it all. I didn't bother telling anybody because it's like, why? Because it didn't make any difference, right? It really doesn't make any difference. If it inspires someone, if they have some drive from it, if they accomplish a goal might not be the same, but it most certainly means that it's going to be feeding them forward. When we start to share our visions, our inspirations in life, yes, sometimes we have to kind of think about our inspirations and reframe them so that we don't get criticized, because we naturally do that, right? We get criticized naturally because someone's didn't have the same potential dream you did. But then we see people on the other side and they're willing to swear that their dead aunt came along or their dead grandmother came along. For you guys that read the book or saw the movie Exodus, the way back in history. Yes, I understand that. But, for the most part, that wasn't about a girl. That was about a boy. And he was kind of quasi-possessed. I did a lot of work with possessed people. So I've done a lot of research on that field. And that young man had a grandmother that he was really close tied to and was really very much in kin with her. And then she died. And so after she died, he became a little bit in reaction to, he went to a couple of churches and damaged things and spray painted around and did some damage. And then eventually became possessed, or to some degree possessed. I won't go into all the great details, but it's very, very interesting when you start to see it's kind of like, he couldn't find anybody else that would align with his stream of potential, his ability to envision things. She was the only one who would. The rest of the family thought he was just kind of like, not all that there kid. He had crazy ideas. He did have crazy influences and ideas. He really needed some guidance and someone to say, I'm not sure that it works that way. But I would pursue that. It's not damaging churches, but I would pursue those imaginations and let's have more conversations about them and see where it goes. That's it, right? So That's my whole thing about belief. I used to have a pat answer. People would say, what do you believe in? It says, I believe in you, right? Tell me your story. And so let's see what we got to work with, because I think that's where your potential starts from, is your story. I call those story indexes. If you look at the indexes, the pieces in there that are consistent with a person's life, those are real experiences that have popped up, kind of like your dream. You remember going to a party, some of the people you recognize the house, but it's now in the wrong city. Some of the people are dead, they're there, but they're still at the party. This is normal stuff in the world of imagination. We don't want to cut that out of our world just because we live in this form. That's what feeds this. It created this. It put this whole thing together. The integration, the ability to take an image, an idea, an imagination, and integrate it into form, I think is what life is about. Getting more money, getting some success, getting the right mate, the right kids, too much junk. I think the idea is to integrate dreams and visions into the game is what this whole thing is about, right? We don't take anything with us. It's just kind of fun. So I think that's what we should have fun with. So that's what I mean when I say two systems. Imagination is most certainly, creativity, potential is most certainly there. Logic is most certainly there. Do you know, when we're born, we just don't fit in this logical world because you don't have the skill set. We got to learn to take care of ourselves. We got to learn to bathe. We got to feed ourselves. It takes us years to learn linguistics, structure, language skills. Yes, we're fast learners, but it all comes through an integration and imagination. And so that's what I'm talking about. So it makes some sense. Great. I'm Chris at wizardscatch.com. And so if you have any questions, my website is a blog site at wizardscatch.com. And so I blog up once a month. Not a whole lot, but anyway, if I have any questions, why bounce them off of me, Chris at Wizards Catch. I'd be glad to entertain your questions, and it'd be kind of fun. And so thank you much for your time and for asking the questions. Right?